Most of the listeners are not professional athletes or even competitive athletes, but business leaders. So how can we take what you've talked about in working with professional athletes and world-class athletes and apply it to the business situation?
Well, if we think about our people, ourselves and our people in our context, and think, okay, how focused are we? How often are we focused on the right thing at the right time? I rarely see people who are. What I tend to see is people who are focused on outcomes, not processes. I see people who are trying to juggle far too many balls all at the same time. People that have got 101 priorities, a things to do list that stretches into forever. That's not focus. Many years ago, I worked with an Olympian. He was a swimmer, a breaststroke swimmer called Chris. And we figured out, it took us an embarrassingly long time, it took us about 3 years to figure out what his job was. So he was a 100-meter swimmer. He swims in a 50-meter pool. It took us 3 years to figure out that his job was to swim 2 lengths of the swimming pool as fast as he could. And that was it. We got confused for the first 3 years because we thought his job might be to win, to get medals, to break records, to get sponsorship and funding and all those sorts of things. None of those things were his job. So when we understood that his job was to swim 2 lengths of the pool as fast as possible, we then asked some very, very powerful questions. One of those questions that drove us for the next 4 years: does the thing we're doing right now actually help you swim 2 lengths of the pool faster? And he used to swim 60,000, 70,000 meters every week in a pool, 60 to 70 kilometers up and down and up and down and up and down. And he asked himself, do all of those meters help me swim 100 meters quicker? And the answer was no. We looked at his strength and conditioning program. He went into the gym, he lifted weights. One of those exercises on his program was the bench press. So he lies on his back, pushes a bar outwards. And he said to the strength and conditioning coach, why do I push a bar outwards when swimming, breaststroke, I pull the water towards me? And the strength and conditioning coach said, I don't know. He said, well, will it help? Probably not. Why do I do it?
It gets back to that curiosity that you were talking about and questioning. And often we know things that are beliefs and not actual truths.
Yeah.
And I find that curiosity is a very important element in success of any discipline.
Yeah. Chris's next step was a very, very courageous step. He said, if it doesn't contribute, I'm going to put it in the bin. And so he ended up ditching 66% of his training program, 2/3. And this is the stuff that he'd done since he was a kid. His coach had done since the dawn of time. Every swimming program had it. And he was saying, but if it doesn't help, I'm not going to do it.
Takes a tremendous amount of courage to do things differently than anybody else or everybody else who's competing in the same event or the same sport.
Yeah. So I now ask business leaders, how much of the stuff that you do on a daily basis does not contribute to your 2 lengths of the pool? How many of the meetings you attend, how many of the phone calls you take, how many of the emails you reply to and read, out of all of that stuff, how much genuinely takes you in the direction you're looking to go and how much is just distraction? And the average answer that I get back from people, 1/3 contributes, 2/3 doesn't. So it's, the first point of focus, let's try and sideline some of that 2/3. We won't get rid of it all, but hey, if we could liberate 20%, 30%, that would give us a huge amount of focus back that we could actually start directing onto the stuff that really does make a difference.
And I bet half of what needs to be cut is obvious. The other half, you have to be very discerning.
That's absolutely true. In fact, I can remember asking a marketing director friend of mine, and we had a conversation about this, and they said, I know that 50% of everything that we do is a complete waste of time. The problem is I don't know which 50%.
Which 50%, yes, of course.
So he said, and we keep doing all of it. And that's what most people do because they don't know what's contributing and what isn't. They just keep doing it all because they're petrified if they give up something, that could be the thing that makes the difference.
But that's where experimentation can come in. right? Drop it. Drop this for a while. See, are we getting the same results? Are we getting better results? Are we getting worse results? Maybe we bring it in. I find that's really, really interesting.
Yeah. Chris and I mean, we used it in a swimming context, but since then I've used that in business environments as well. In fact, the very first time I was challenged to apply sports psychology, quote unquote, into a business environment, it was with the sales team. And I spoke to the sales director who said, we've got a problem. Can you help? And I'd never worked outside of sports. So I said, I don't know, honestly, but hey, let's try. So he said, okay, here's the problem. The sales target is going up. At the moment, it's £1 million per person for my sales team. And it's going to go up to 1.5 million overnight from January, as January the 1st kicks in. We only just scraped 1 million last year. And this year's going to be tougher. He said, the real problem is I don't think they can do it, nor do they. Can you help? And we started working with them. I used the same philosophy. We looked at what contributes, what doesn't. Let's eliminate as much of the distraction as possible. And then all of that liberated time, energy, and headspace, we're going to make sure we direct it really well onto the stuff that will genuinely make a difference. And we did, I think, about 6 sessions over the first quarter of the year, 9 sessions maybe over the first quarter of the year. At the end of that year, every single one of them flew past their sales targets. I think the top performer got about 2.5 million in sales. And the reflection was, this is not rocket science. Most people honestly waste a huge amount of their time, effort, energy, and focus. We just need to make sure we redirect that properly. And if we did, and I'm looking at, 10%, if we just got 10% back, that's half a day a week on a standard 5-day week. If we got 20% back, we got another day a week. Imagine what we could do with that.
Right. 50 more days a year. Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, that's how we can get towards our sales targets. Just use our time better. That's how Chris, the swimmer, went from being not even in the top 4 in his city to being the 7th fastest in history.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
And a double Olympian, and an Olympic finalist, and a double Commonwealth gold medalist, and a double Commonwealth record holder. And we didn't change anything. He didn't become all of a sudden taller. He didn't get webbed hands and webbed feet or anything like that. It was just that we used our time better. That's all.